So what's the vibe getting back on the field and having a rollover new calendar?
Yeah, excited, just super excited just to get on the field. We've been working for probably 3 or 4 weeks now in the small group work and the things we're allowed to do. And so now it's time to, watch guys compete and get out of the batting cage, get out of the bullpen and play real baseball.
What was the recruitment of Braden like, and how was it pretty smooth sailing, or was there some back and forth on it?
I think we didn't, we just had the opportunity to meet him after he went in the portal. Luckily, he was coming through the area, so we had a chance to visit with him for a couple hours one day before he went to the Cape. Kind of asked him what he was looking for, both on the hitting and pitching development side, and had good meetings with Max and good meetings with Mike and myself, and then we just let him go play, and he probably had 11, 12, 13 schools fly up to the Cape and do different things, but we never did anything like that, never felt like we needed to. Kept asking him if he wanted us to, but he felt like he had all the information he needed to make a decision. So, we're excited to have him here, and so it lasted obviously a long time. So if you can, I won't say it was completely smooth because it would have been awesome to know pretty quick. But now that's part of it when you're recruiting a player who's got unbelievable options all across the country.
What have you seen from Max so far, and how he's integrated and worked with the players? Yeah,
just Max he's such an amazing person. You're talking about a guy who hasn't lived at home since he was 12 years old. Went to military school from 12 years old on. All 3 of his brothers went to military school. Last year, he told me he spent over 250 nights on the road. So, he's just, even though he's 28, I mean, when I was 30, I was a head coach. But I feel like he's way beyond where I was at 28 years old. So he's just supremely intelligent, supremely organized, but also has really good feel, at least to this point, with the pitchers, and they're having a good time. He's a real positive guy, but he also, a lot of the new age stuff has been talked about, but to this point, he actually doesn't talk about that stuff that much. It's there, it's present for the players that want it. I think he does a good job of giving them the right amount of dosage of that. But at the end of the day, it's about being a competitor. And he talks about being a skilled pitcher versus being a competitive pitcher. And as I said earlier to somebody today, like, there's this big square thing out in the left field, and it's called a scoreboard, and we use it. And you got to win the game. And the best analytic that I know of is every time we have one more run than the other team, we win. So that's the one I follow.
Talk about the competition level, pitching and hitting and the mix, and what it does to get your team ready, not just for the fall, some scrimmages you have, those opportunities, but get you ready for the spring. Yeah,
I mean, rising, what is it, the saying, rising tide floats all boats? Like, from a position player standpoint, I mean, some of these young players are as physically talented off of what we've seen for 4 weeks, right? We haven't played a game yet, but just the physical skill, size, strength, speed, how hard they hit the ball, how they move. Those are some of the best young players that I've coached, at least at that stuff. We'll find out if they can actually play. And it's a big jump. The biggest jump in a player's career is from high school to elite Division I baseball. The pitching, I've seen some of the bullpens. Those are good. I don't put a whole lot of stock in that for a pitcher. I was a pitching coach prior to being a head coach, so I wait and hold judgment until we play the games and play the real games. But it's super competitive. There's a lot of good players. There's a number of good players, right? I mean, we have 45 plus players, 45, 46, 47 players, something like that. So it's, just from a pure number standpoint, there's a lot of competition, and that'll be good. That'll keep everybody on edge, and because we're only allowed to have 40 once the season gets here. So unfortunately, there's going to be some tough decisions have to be made.
Are you looking forward to working against Max to see how he is as a pitching coach and how he's going to attack hitters? Because it's going to be like starting over again from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know about I mean, I guess you could say Max, but it's more about the pitchers. And I personally like to talk a lot of trash to him, especially about the running game. if they have a bad leg time, or just to challenge them and see how they handle it. I'll just challenge them to throw the ball in the strike zone. But Max is doing the same thing, and challenge our hitters. But the goal, at the end of the day, I want us to pitch, right? And what does the perfect inner squad look like? I want the pitchers to dominate the hitters, but when the pitchers make a bad pitch, because nobody hits a good pitch, I want it when they make a bad pitch, that's the one you want landed on, right? So ideally, I want the pitchers. I'm a pitching guy at heart, so I want the pitchers to do well, and I want us to play good. I want us to play good defense, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes, especially on the bases, because we like to have fun, or I like to have fun that way.
I know you discussed Braden already, but you have a pretty impressive transfer class coming in, and you're replacing a lot of names that A&M baseball fans already knew. So what have you seen from those guys already, and what are you hoping to get out of them now that you can have full team working?
Yeah, first of all, they're a lot like that first transfer class in terms of the human beings they are. Schott, Appel, Teddy Burton, these are, you talk about a Michigan man and 2 Ivy League graduates, right? Eldridge Armstrong, unbelievable human being. Dad worked, for the Secret Service for every president since Ronald Reagan. So just some really cool backgrounds, and so they're fun to be around. And then their skill set is obviously strong, but their experience is what you lean on. What's funny is to watch the highly skilled freshman relative to the 22, 23-year-old transfer, and how those guys interact and how they relate to each other, and that's fun. But yeah, they're all great dudes. Obviously, Braden coming from Stanford, another great school. So that intelligence plays a big role in baseball. You can't be. I guess there's a part of baseball where you want to be a little bit dumb, so that you don't overanalyze the game, you don't carry one at bat to the next. But at the same time, you got to be intelligent enough to be self-aware and aware of what's going on in the game. And it is a thinking man's game. People who don't know baseball don't understand that, but it is a thinking man's game. And so those are all smart guys, and smart guys who are good athletes and experienced. You can usually win with those guys.
Get an entire signing class on campus. What went on behind the scenes to get that to happen, and how difficult was it, and what does it mean for this program moving forward to have all those highly talented, as you put it, freshmen here and ready to go?
Well, a lot of work goes into it. You recruit them against 300-plus Division I schools, and then I don't know if it's recruiting against 30-plus major league teams, or if it's just professional baseball in general, just trying to educate them on the fastest route to the big leagues, the value of a college education, the value of your experience, life experience alone at Texas A&M. So we spend, and me personally, I spend a lot of time, effort, and money in doing that. Money from the terms of putting together PowerPoints and driving up. I think there was back-to-back days where Coach Kane and I drove 4 hours to Corpus to meet with Jack Bell, 4 hours back, and the next day I drove up to Flower Mound to meet with Sorrell and drove back. So you're spending a lot of time and money doing that. But yeah, I don't want to sign the best players. I want to get the best players. Signing them doesn't do anything for us. Getting them here, getting them on the field, getting them in our program, and stacking those good recruiting classes on top of each other is what's going to eventually get this program to where we want it to be.
What differences have you noticed, or I guess do you anticipate from last year's team to what you have this year?
Let me think here. I think you had some proven commodities, right? And all those Minnick and Boast and Trevor, Jack Moss, Detmer, who else? Will Johnston, a little bit in that mix. So yeah, we had some of those guys. I think I didn't know it as well as I should have, but apparently those guys were carrying a lot of weight of expectation on them. But you know what? Programs got to grow out of that. If we don't, we have to get used to that around here, and it doesn't make it easy. It just makes it fact. And so I think, I think losing those guys, it stinks because I enjoy being around them every day. But at the same time, it's fun to have fresh blood here and new players and guys that kind of have a clean slate, and you really get to work with them and coach them up, and And one thing that's really cool that was very similar to my first year here is Claunch was so excited to be an Aggie. Kaler was so excited to play in the SEC. Jack Moss, was so excited to be here, and I think all those guys are like, yeah, we've played college baseball, but we haven't done this. Like, we haven't been to Kyle Field and seen 100,000 people at a football game. So just, it's neat to see those transformations in a older player. The younger players are always excited to be in college, but the older players, the transfers, it's neat to see how excited they are to be here.
How important is the fall for your multi-positional players? And where does that point you in the spring when you evaluate them when they're going against each other and the teams in the fall?
Well, the first thing, when you're playing fall inter-squad games, you get to write 2 lineups, right? So everybody gets to play. I mean, we'll have today, if we get to play, we'll have 2 11-man teams that are out there playing, and there's one team where the third baseman, the shortstop, and the second baseman are going to rotate every inning, and you give everybody a different look. I'm a big believer, especially on the position player side, that you want guys to learn what it's like to play all the positions. I mean, how many college shortstops play shortstop in the big leagues? Not very many. So you're probably going to move off shortstop. It's important to know how to, what's it like to get, if you're the shortstop and you have to play second and someone feeds you a bad double play, then you know what it's like. Man, that really stinks to get a bad double play feed. I need to do a better job, because it feels horrible to feel that runner bearing down on you with your back to him and somebody gives you a bad feed. So that's from a pure developmental standpoint. As the head coach here, I want our players, our goal is to develop a winning player so that when they go out in professional baseball, if they get a fight in Texas Aggie, that minor league manager and that organization goes, yeah, those, whether they're good or bad or whether they fit in or not, we don't know, but they're going to be a winner. They're going to know how to run bases. They're going to know how to play different positions. And so we want versatile players, athletes that can move all over the field. So being able to write 2 lineups and switch things around and not having necessarily the rules of a real game, that's what's fun about the fall.
Talk about creating competition during the fall. So I'm curious, when you go about breaking up into 2 11-man teams, how do you do that, and how does that progress throughout the fall and then into the spring from a coaching philosophy?
I've done it every different way. I've done it where you set 2 teams, and those are the 2 teams in the fall. But then have a couple injuries or class schedules or different things happen, and it kind of loses its competitive grit side of things when you're having guys switch back and forth. So we normally mix it up day to day, but I think with this group, I actually told them yesterday, we might have a day where we go freshmen against older guys, because we have enough good young freshman players. Could maybe consider Coffer still a freshman, run him out there and just have some fun with it. You hope this should never be monotonous for these guys, but it certainly can be. That's human nature, is to let it get that way. So we'll try to mix it up here and there. Of course, we have 2 fall games against outside competition, and then assuming everybody's healthy in the last week of October, we'll have a little maroon white or inter squad World Series for 2 or 3 games and let them compete that way.
Anything else?
All right, thanks for coming out. Appreciate it.